Hi, my loves, and welcome back to I'm On Your Side with me, your host, Sierra Boudreau. If you guys are watching, then you know that we have a special guest. Maybe you can't even see her. She's kind of off to the side, but for those of you who don't know, Lily is my dog. She's one of my two dogs. I have Fitz and Lily, but Fitz right now is getting a dental cleaning done at the vet, so it's just me and Lily hanging out, and she's been literally moping around all day. For a little bit of context, I adopted Fitz almost 4 years ago, and then I adopted Lily a little bit over a year ago. So Lily has only lived 4 months of her life without Fitz, and every single day that she's been awake, Fitz has also been here. Every single time she's gone to bed, Fitz has also been here. She is just so used to like Fitz being in and around, and so she's really comforted by him. So this morning when I took him to the vet, she freaked out, so I had to let her go in the room with Alex while he was sleeping because Fitz's appointment was super early. So I had to let her go in there so that she could be calmed by him, but she really does not like being alone. And I'll notice when I open like a new door, she'll just go in there and check and see if Fitz is in there, and he's not because he's at the vet. But she has really been going through it today. So thoughts and prayers to her. If you have any extra time and energy, she would really appreciate your good vibes, as she has gone on hour 5 without him. So if you saw Lily, she's gone now. She decided she didn't like being talked about, so she's gone. So let's go ahead and get into the what am I doing, where am I going, what am I watching, all of that kind of stuff that we usually start the episode off with. I just got back from Hawaii. Alex and I went for our anniversary. I told you guys about it last week, and it was so special. It was really just an incredible trip. We were in Maui, and it is so beautiful. We got there pretty late at night, so everything was dark, obviously, as we were driving from the hotel to the Airbnb. But I woke up super early the next morning because my body was just like ready to go. I woke up and I looked outside. We had the most gorgeous view, one of the most gorgeous views I've ever seen. There were mountains on one side, the sky, the ocean. I mean, all of it was just right there. And I got to catch a little bit of the sunrise, and that was just magical, truly. And I got a few film photos. So I'm really excited to get that film back. But I shot half of a roll that I had of my last film roll that was in there. That's been accumulating for so long. And then half of the roll of my new film roll. So I'm waiting until I shoot the rest of the film roll to go get it developed, because I obviously don't want to waste any film. So I will try my best to be patient about that. For Christmas last year, Alex, his sister, and brother-in-law got us this really cute engraved photo album that we can put our different vacation photos and just relationship photos in. So I've been waiting to get our film developed, and then I have just some regular photos to get printed. It's a whole thing. And so I'm ready to get that scrapbook all put together and make it super cute. I'm really appreciative of that gift. I love it. It's one of my favorite ones I've received, and I think that once it's all put together and everything, Alex and I are really going to enjoy looking at that. So Hawaii was wonderful. We were only there for about 4 days. In case you weren't around then, a couple of months ago, Alex and I did Aruba for 8 days, and because that trip was so long, I think that we just got kind of burnt out on long trips. I think that we are more like 4 to 5 day people. 3 days if it's continental US seems more than good for us, and then 4 or 5 days maybe if it's international or not continental US is really good. I think that longer trips are good if you're moving around. We talked about that a lot too, that we wish that we went somewhere for our like long vacation trip that we were moving around for, maybe Europe, just because you can do 3 days here, 3 days there, whatever it may be. But in Aruba, we were literally just in one place, and it wasn't even like Hawaii where there was different islands to hop to. It's just literally Aruba. You're just there. While Aruba was a wonderful trip and we have so many fun memories from it, we also learned a lot from that vacation. I think we have a better idea of what our vacation trip itinerary and ideas look like. So excited for our next one. I know that we're doing Arizona at some point this month, and I'm really excited for that because I've never been to Arizona, and I'm sure that it's going to be great. And like I told you guys in a couple of episodes ago, it's really important to go to places you're considering moving during the season you're least excited about. Arizona is a place that is just kind of on our list, not anytime soon, not right now, but it's just on our list of places we think we might be happy next. And I want to go during the hot summer because Arizona summer is actually the 5th circle of hell, I've heard. And that's from me growing up in Texas. Like, I know hot, but Arizona hot, I think, is just a different kind of hot. Alex lived in Arizona for a little bit a few years back, and so he's familiar with the seasons, with the weather, but I am not. And so I want to go during the summer so that I get an idea of how hot it is. And if I just feel completely melted there and unwell, then probably that's going to be crossed off of our list. That's one thing that I wish I did before I moved to Denver, is visit in the winter. I visited, I think, one time in October, which is the beginning of it really being cold, but it's not nearly cold like it is in January, February, you know what I mean? And so I wish that I visited Denver during the extreme winter. Not that Denver's winters are, quote, extreme, but you know what I mean. I wish I visited during a more snowy, cold, icy time so that I got a better idea of it, because as I've talked to you guys about before, my first winter here was just awful because I really didn't know what to expect. I knew that Denver snowed. I knew it got cold. I didn't know how much it snowed. I didn't know how cold it got, and that's my own oversight. But that's what happens when you're 23 23 and you decide to uproot your entire life on a whim. You don't really think about weather patterns, or maybe if you do, that's you, but I sure did not. So now at 25 and a little bit more mature and grown up and more thoughtful about where I'm going to be spending a couple of years of my life, I'm going to visit Arizona when it's super hot. So that's on the agenda for what's coming up. By the time this episode goes live, Alex's birthday will have passed. His 28th birthday is on Thursday. This episode is live Sunday, so whenever you're listening to it, it doesn't really matter because his birthday will have already passed. I'm really thrilled because we're going to Garden Grace, which is our favorite restaurant in Denver. It is a really nice restaurant. The service is immaculate. The food is just, oh my God, impeccable. The atmosphere is a delight to be in. It really is just a great place. We celebrated his birthday there last year, and then we went again for some kind of celebration or event, and then we're going again for his birthday. So really, really thrilled to be back, and I've just been looking forward to it. I know that he's looking forward to it. Last year, after his birthday, we were leaving the restaurant and he was like, that is the best meal I've ever had, which I took a lot of pride in because I found the restaurant, or I didn't really find the restaurant. An old coworker of mine told me about the restaurant, but I, by proxy, found the restaurant and took him there. He really enjoyed it, and it just warmed my heart to hear that he really loved it because we are kind of experienced people when it comes to birthdays and things like that, not necessarily big gift people. I say that knowing full well that Alex mentioned something one time and I collect it for his birthday or for Christmas or whatever because it's Tuesday, just because there is something about me being in love that makes me hate when somebody that I love wants for something. I hate it. I'm like, no, I want you to have it right now. And Alex is very thoughtful, and he'll research and he'll take his time and really consider the pros and cons of having that item before he buys it for himself. He could mention something in January and then it's August and he's like, oh yeah, and I finally got around to buying that thing. I thought about it and it seems like a good investment. And it is just crazy to me that he has the patience, but also he is not deeply plagued by consumerism in the way that I am, because I am so chronically online, as I'm sure a lot of us can relate to. So we were hiking in Hawaii. I already had like a couple of ideas about what I wanted to get him for his birthday. One being the lens for his camera. He's into photography and he is actually really good at it. I don't know why I said actually. That's like somebody being like, you're actually really funny. And it's like, why is the actually there? I know that. He is good at photography and he really enjoys it. But he had mentioned that he wanted a prime lens a couple of months ago. Brought it up once, didn't bring it up again. I obviously know that he hasn't bought it for himself yet, so that was already on the list. But he mentioned it again when we were in Hawaii. He was just saying that he thinks it's about time he's going to get around to getting it, which means another 4 to 5 months. So I went ahead and ordered that, and I'm so thrilled to give that to him because I know that he's really going to appreciate that, and that's something that we can both enjoy because he's going to bring it on the trips that we go on. He brings it when we go do something together, when we go hiking, whatever it may be. So I'm excited to benefit from that gift a little bit. And then I also got him a new Fitbit because the one that he has right now, there's just some features that he wanted upgraded. And so I was like, oh, you're not waiting for that. You're going to have that right now. If I could give it to you before your birthday, I truly would. It came in the mail yesterday and I've just been like waiting to give it to him. I hate sitting on surprises. I hate sitting on gifts. I want the person to have it immediately. That's someone I'm in love with or a friend or whatever. Like that is anyone. If I give you a gift, I want to give it to you immediately. I hate waiting and sitting in the anticipation of your excitement to open it. So those are his 2 birthday presents. And then dinner, of course, is a birthday present because it's a nicer dinner. And that's what's going on for his birthday. But I'm just so excited. I love celebrating him. I love his birthday because he never really makes it a big deal, but I like to make it a big deal. I'm going to Party City and I'm going to get one of those helium tanks that you can get. When I wake up before him, I'm going to fill up the balloons with the helium and, tie little ribbons on them, whatever. And I think on the ends of the balloons, I'm going to write him little notes. He's turning 28. So I think I'm going to do 28 little notes of like memories that we have or things that I love about him or things that I really appreciate or just little like quotes or song lyrics that we both like, whatever. I'm just going to fill up the balloons and put those around the living room. And then of course, I want to get him one of those happy birthday signs to hang up. And it's cheesy and it's gross. Love being in love. I love doing cheesy stuff. I love the excitement of it all. I love a birthday. So I'm really excited for him to wake up, open the door and just see a bunch of balloons and streamers and a sign and all of that. And then we give him his gifts and we spend the day together. I just really am looking forward to it so much. And I'm just thinking about 10 birthdays from now, 15 birthdays from now, like getting to watch him grow into the man that he is becoming has just been wonderful. And this really is not an episode where I'm gushing about my boyfriend. I swear to God, I was just telling you what I'm excited about. And then I realized, I'm looking at the clock, I'm like, oh, I've only talked about Alex for the last 7 minutes. And I'm so sorry about that. But I hope that you can delight in me being in love. And if not, we're going to move on anyway. I've been taking a look at the episodes I've released lately that you guys have really been enjoying, and your top one right now is Silly Spring. You guys are loving Silly Spring, which I love because I really enjoyed making that episode. You guys are also really loving Rejection Turned Abundance, and I was kind of worried about that one because I was worried it was going to come across wrong, because I obviously understand that when I'm talking about a lot of the experiences I have now and a lot of the beliefs I have now, I'm saying it from quite a privileged position, and I totally understand that. And so I understand how sometimes you may not want to listen to the fact that sometimes you fail upwards from someone who has failed upwards, because sometimes you do fail downwards. So I understand how that could be frustrating or annoying, but you guys have really taken to that episode and really loved it, and I've gotten really good feedback and responses from it. So I just wanted to say thank you for listening to that and knowing my intentionality, because sometimes I have to remind myself to see the best in my audience in the way that you guys continuously see the best in me. I think that when you spend a lot of time online, you can kind of turn cynical in the way that you believe that people are always going to misconstrue what you're saying, or they're going to intentionally misunderstand you, or they're going to twist your words, because it has happened time and time again. Maybe not to me personally, but it has happened to me personally. But I'm saying maybe not oftentimes to me personally, but you see it on the internet every other day. An influencer says something, it is taken out of context, it is twisted and maneuvered, and it becomes something entirely different that they didn't even mean. And their audience actually knows what they mean, but once it gets to the wider internet, it can just be taken in so many different ways, because everyone has different opinions and perspectives and experiences with whatever the creator is talking about. And so I think that I worry so much about something that I'm saying being taken the wrong way, even though for the most part, you guys really do understand what I'm saying, because you guys have grown with me and connected with me for so long. You understand the heart behind what I'm saying, and I don't think that I've taken enough time to express my gratitude for that. I really do appreciate that. I think that it has absolved me of a lot of anxiety that I've been harboring and carrying around, because every time I release something or say something and I'm worried that it's going to be taken the wrong way or out of context, or it's going to be deeply misunderstood, it really rarely ever is. One person or two people might have a couple of questions about it, but if one or two people out of all the people who listen to the podcast, all of the people who follow me on other platforms are misunderstanding what I'm saying, then that maybe isn't a problem with how I'm saying it, but more so just a differing of opinion or of experience or of understanding, which I can totally respect and definitely want to converse about, because I'm not ever saying that if it's only one or two people, it's unimportant. It is always important. I'm saying if it's one or two people, then it's less a problem with how I'm phrasing and more just a person-to-person experience. And so I really am thankful for that, and I really do appreciate that. It makes me so eager to return to the podcast and continue sharing what I share online, because I know that a lot of what I talk about is just personal experience at the end of the day. I don't have a degree in what I'm talking about. I'm not a therapist. I'm just a person who has lived my life and shares my life with you guys, because I think a lot of us go through the same things, especially as we're in this point of our lives. A lot of us are in our mid-20s, and I think that we're experiencing a lot of the similar thing, and it's not very often that we find people online that we really connect with. And so I'm so grateful for those of you who really connect with me. So I just wanted to share that. I feel like it's been a minute since I've expressed my deep gratitude, but that kind of leads me into what I want to talk about this week on the episode. Is something that I thought about. I was going to bed the other day. I was literally laying there, eyes closed, bonnet on, and I opened my eyes and I was like, oh, that's exactly it. It was this thought that I was having about myself, and I finished the thought, and then the immediate next thought that came after it was, okay, and who gives a fuck? And not in a negative way. I know that who gives a fuck sounds like this very negative connotation, but when you think about it, how often are you having thoughts about yourself, negative thoughts about yourself, negative thoughts about other people? You get so wrapped up about it, and you think your negative opinion about that thing matters so much, especially when it's about yourself. And honestly, no one gives a fuck. Truly, when you're having negative thoughts about somebody else, especially somebody that you don't know, somebody online, somebody in front of you at the grocery store, somebody who is a friend of a friend, or even a friend, because I'm not saying that just because they're friends, we're never going to have negative thoughts about them. I think that we're all human, no matter what the relationship is. And sometimes a negative thought is going to pop up. And what helps me not act on that or go down this rabbit hole of that is saying, And who gives a fuck? It's something that I used to do a lot a while ago when I was really starting to reframe my thought patterns and start being more on my own side and intentional about my thinking. And something that I kind of stepped away from that I really want to get back into doing is reminding myself that just because I have a negative thought about it doesn't mean it needs to be acted on, doesn't mean I need to dwell on it, and doesn't mean it's the most important thought in the world. And when I thought about that, I wanted to talk about it in a more thorough way with you guys. That it's going to be the rest of the episode, how to reframe our thought patterns from caring so much about the negativity swirling around that we've either learned from other people or just learned from our own behaviors, and how to stop believing that just because we think it, it's automatically true. So let's get into it. One of the big negative thoughts that I have about myself often is that I'm successful now, but I'm not successful enough. And that is something that I'm working through in therapy a lot, something that I struggled with a lot a couple of months ago, and it got better, but it's still not in the place that I want it to be. And I'm sure that a lot of us can relate to this. Like, I have a great job and I have great friends and I have a great partner, or I'm like missing this one thing in my life that I think is going to complete me. And, you know, obviously one thing in your life is just not going to complete you. You can have the best partner in the world and you will still want for something else. You can have the best friends in the world and you will still want for something else. I think that the human brain is conditioned to always want more. And so because of that, I had this negative feedback loop that, okay, I'm successful, but you need to be grinding 10 times harder because you're not successful enough. You've made it in some aspects, but you haven't made it in every aspect. And so you need to do more. And it can put me in this state of paralysis where I feel like nothing I'm doing is good enough. That affects me career-wise, that affects me relationally, that affects me personally. I was thinking about that as I was kind of brainstorming this episode, and some thoughts came to my mind that I wrote down, and these are completely unedited. These are just thoughts that I was having, but I want to share them with you because I think that it really gets to the heart of what I'm trying to say. There's a freedom in losing the thing you thought you needed. Freedom from the fear of losing it, freedom from the belief that you needed it, freedom from the white-knuckled, nail-biting effort of keeping it. And sometimes things come to us, we know it's time to let them go, but we're so afraid because we didn't appreciate it enough when we had it, or we cling to it like a status symbol, or we're afraid we're proving the ominous them right about failing. I just think about all the times I failed and how few people truly gave a fuck, and how little I give a fuck about my past failures now, that every downswing has been met with a greater swell of goodness. And I wrote that, and then I sat there with it for a second, didn't really look at it again until just now when I read it to you guys, and there is so much truth in it. I want to start with the beginning where I said there's a freedom in losing the thing you thought you needed, freedom from the fear of losing it, freedom from the belief that you needed it, freedom from the white-knuckled, nail-biting effort of keeping it. I want you to think about the last time that you wanted something so bad and then you got it and then you lost it, and how devastating in the moment that felt. Hoping you can reflect on that moment, whether it was fleeting or whether it stuck around for a long time, that moment of relief that you had. It's like, oh, now that it's gone, I don't have to worry so much about losing it. And when I think about that, I mean, there's many instances in my life where that applies, but one that really, really applies is when I was in the end of my abusive relationship and I realized this is the end. I'm not going back. We're no contact. Like, I'm not reaching out. I'm not responding to anything he says. I'm done. I'm removing myself from the situation. And there was this fear, and there was this sadness, and there was this anxiety, but there was also, for this very, very fine moment, this feeling of relief. Like, now it is done. Now it is gone. And now I don't have to give all of myself. I don't have to put all of my energy, all of my time, all of my effort into maintaining this thing that I know is not good for me. And I sat with it for a second and I was like, oh, this is what it feels like to lose the thing that you wanted so, so badly at one time. The thing that I pined after, the thing that I craved, the thing that I thought that I needed, the thing that I thought completed me, which ended up obviously not completing me and hurting me so much more than I even thought possible at the time. And once it was done, it was this feeling of, oh, that's what it's like. And to my shock, and to my mega shock at the time, losing that relationship did not kill me. It felt at some moments like my heart and my soul was literally sitting outside of my body, and it took all of me to put it back in. It felt so devastating and so life-changing at the time, and it was devastating and it was life-changing, but in a really, really good way. The losing that was actually one of the best things that ever happened to me. And once I could let go of the feeling of keeping it and holding on to it and fighting for it every single day, and I could let go of what I thought it was going to be, and I could let go of the eagerness and the excitement that it once once was, I could finally look at it for what it was and say, thank God this is over. Thank God it is done. And now I can become something else, and I can focus my time, my energy into something else. And I ended up putting all of the time and all of the energy that I put into that into myself. And I look at my life when I was 22, and then I look at my life now, and thank God I put all of that energy into myself, because really I didn't even know where else to put it. My relationships look so different with my friends because I wasn't telling the truth about anything. I never really had this great of a relationship with my family, and so I just didn't really know where to put it there. Dating at first, it wasn't serious at all. I was just seeing different people to see if I was even ready to be out and dating again. I really didn't know where to put all of this energy and commitment and time and love and eagerness that I had. And I thought, what would happen? What would be so wild about investing that into myself? And because I made that decision, my life has changed drastically, and I am so deeply proud of the person I am compared to the person that I was when I was stuck in that and stuck in the fight. And so whether it's an abusive relationship or a job or a friendship or a habit you have, whatever it is that you are worried so much about losing every single day and you are fighting for every single day, when you have that feeling deep down, okay, maybe this actually isn't what I want it to be, or maybe even this is what I want it to be, and I'm so afraid of losing it, coupling that with the true and unwavering belief that if I do lose this, there is going to be an upswing of something else. There's going to be a swell of goodness, a swell of abundance, something that is going to replace it, to the point where I'm not even going to look at it as a replacement, because I'm not going to be thinking about the previous thing anymore. And then on to the next part, where I say sometimes things come to us and we know it's time to let them go, but we're so afraid because maybe we didn't appreciate it enough when we had it, or we cling to it like a status symbol, or we're afraid we're proving the ominous them right about failing. And I really want to talk about that part too, just because I have been thinking a lot about my corporate job. If you guys are newer around here, post August, I believe is when I left, or the beginning of September, I left my corporate job. So if you're newer and you don't know, I had a corporate job for the majority of the time that I've been a content creator, and then I left it last year to go full-time content. I'm so thankful for that decision. I think that it has been an incredible decision for me, and betting on myself has given me this confidence that I didn't even know that I had within myself. That said, I'm thinking a lot about my corporate job recently and what that meant to me and why I held on to it for so long. I think it's one of those things that I am quite far removed from it now, and so I can reflect on it and look at it for what it was and look at it for the truth that it was. And I don't believe that I held on to that corporate job because I truly just loved the job, and I told myself for a long time I held on because I loved the company and I loved the team, and I did love the company and I did love my team. That said, I don't believe that those were the actual reasons that I stayed for as long as I did. I knew in my heart of hearts, my boyfriend knew, my team for content creation knew, my friends knew, everyone who spent a decent amount of time around me knew it was time to let that job go. Probably in March is when I really should have just been done with it. That's when the thought first came into my head, but I was so afraid, and I was like, maybe I'm not ready. Maybe it's not, time for me yet, whatever. I gave myself 1,000,001 excuses to stay. I ultimately think that the main reason I stayed for so long was for those last 2 points. One being that I believed it was a status symbol. If I worked in this really trendy startup, this ad tech company where the company was pretty small and we were so cool and we had great Christmas parties and great happy hours, and we were, heading towards being this really big company, and things were looking great, and we just got whatever, I held on to it because working at that company felt to me like a status symbol. It felt like I had worked so hard in my career to end up there, and I was just part of something great. And so if I was part of something great, that meant that I was great. And I held on to that status symbol so much. I had this sense of pride, this very, very deep pride. People asked me what I did, and I said, I work in ad tech at this really cool company based out of New York called blah, blah, blah. And even if they didn't know what ad tech was, even if they didn't know what the company was, whatever, I felt so cool, and I felt so in it, and I felt like I was a successful woman who was paving her way and having this career that was headed towards greatness, and I clung to that identity so much. And I was reading this book last night, Drinking Games by Sarah Levy, and in it she says, when you don't know who you are, where you work is a great placeholder. And I read that, and it made so much sense to me. It clicked to me that that's what I was doing. It wasn't necessarily that I felt so deeply tied to this company and this job. It was that I felt like I was doing something trendy and cool and cutting edge and something different than what everybody else with an advertising degree was doing. And that mattered to me. And that became a big part of my identity. And so I know you're following when I say that I wasn't so scared about losing the job. I was scared about losing my status. I was scared about losing my identity. And it took me so long to break away from that. And I think even now I've been thinking about my corporate job so much and being like, was it the right decision? When I know it was the right decision, and missing the relationship I had with my coworkers, even though if they were people that I was meant to really keep in my life, then they would still be a bigger part of my life. You know what I mean? If our entire relationship revolved around the fact that we were coworkers, we weren't actually friends. And so just because I drink with them and just because I spent 40 hours a week with them, not even really 40 hours a week, but we were mostly work from home. And so I was obviously living in Denver and the company was based out of New York. And so I was only going to the office and spending time with my entire team once every 6 to 8 weeks. You know what I mean? And so I clung so much to what I thought that co-working relationship was, because it was the first time in my career that I had coworkers that I really genuinely liked and liked them as a whole. Not just I liked one person on my team, but I liked my entire team. And that was a really special thing to have. But just because I had that doesn't mean I was meant to have it forever. And it definitely doesn't mean that it's something to romanticize now. I think that it really served a great place in my life for the time that it was in my life. But I don't think that it's something that I need to stay up at night and think about and ruminate over and wish that I appreciated more, because in truth, I appreciated it so much when I had it. And I appreciated it so much because of what it did for me financially, what it did for me career-wise, what it did for me and my personality. As I was just saying, it did so much for me. So I appreciated it while I had it. And so it's okay to let it go. And the next point being that I was so afraid of proving this ominous them right, that I just believed that people were like waiting for my downfall, that I had this 2 years of gigantic upswings and things were really looking great for me and I was really happy and I was really healthy and things were just continuously working out from the outsider's perspective. And while that was true, things were working out for me in great ways and my life was unfolding in a really wonderful way. I was also struggling in some ways and I was also deeply upset in some ways. I had at the same time been, diagnosed bipolar, and so I was figuring out the right meds for me. I was undiagnosed ADHD, and so while I enjoyed the work that I was doing at the time, I also at some points wasn't very good at it. You know what I mean? So it's just, they were things that I was really struggling with that obviously I wasn't really being very open about. I think that I was talking about things in this abstract view so that I felt kind of removed and then protected from it. But I was so afraid of proving this ominous them wrong. And then I looked back and realized, oh my God, no one actually gave a fuck. When I left that company to work for myself, people were either proud of me or they were completely indifferent. And if somebody did care, they didn't tell me to my face. If somebody thought it was a bad decision, they didn't tell me to my face. If someone thought that I was going to flop and fade into oblivion, they didn't tell me to my face. And so if they're not going to tell me to my face, why am I so comfortable carrying around the unspoken opinions of other people? I really needed to get out of that habit. And I look back now, and the times that I was so afraid of failing, it wasn't that I was afraid of failing in and of itself. I was afraid of people seeing it. I could very much understand that failure is a part of life and we all do it. I wasn't so afraid of failing in my own regard. I was afraid of other people seeing it and other people not having the deep understanding that failure is a part of life and judging me for it. And once I could remove myself from that and say, hey, actually, no one gives a fuck about when you leave a company and when you join a new one and you working for yourself. Either they're excited for you and they're happy for you and they're going to express that to you, or they're just not going to say anything to you about anything. And really, it doesn't matter. I want you to think about for a minute all of the unsaid opinions you believe people have about you that you hold inside as truth. What are the things that you perceive people are saying about you behind your back to other people thinking about you that you're carrying with you as if they said them directly to your face and they meant it? And think about all of the things that you're carrying around and then how many of them have actually been said to you. The number is probably very, very different, right? Between the amount of things that you're carrying around because you think people are saying them and the amount of things people have actually said. It is a very, very big difference there, because I think that we are so inclined to believe that people are thinking about us all of the time and people are worried and concerned about us all of the time. When in reality, a good percentage of Americans are worried about if they can buy groceries, if they can make rent. Right now, there's a full genocide going on, right? Where there are so many human beings not sure if they are going to make it through the next hour. People are not so worried about other people, but we fully believe that they are, because there's also this culture online where we use other people's lives and other people's situations as entertainment for ourselves. We think that it is fun to gossip about the person who broke up with her boyfriend, and we think it is fun to gossip about that divorce that happened from that girl you went to high school with, and it is fun to gossip about that person that you saw on LinkedIn that is still looking for a job, and oh my god, are they really that desperate? And like, there's really no reason to be embarrassed about, one, getting a divorce, or two, looking for a job publicly. But we are really, really afraid, because we know that people see our situations and our lives as gossip and as entertainment. We are really, really afraid of being seen trying publicly. But if I have learned one thing through influencing, I've realized it is actually not embarrassing at all to be seen trying, because the same people that are watching you try are the same people that are going to watch you succeed, right? And you have to believe that all of your effort is going to mean something. It is going to amount to something. And it doesn't really matter if Sally from 7th grade is sharing your Instagram post, and it doesn't really matter if Joe from your last company is scoffing at your LinkedIn post, and it really truly doesn't matter if Tiffany and Shonda are talking about what you said online the other day. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, because as I said, a lot of times when people are gossiping about us or whatever about us, it is because they're using it as entertainment. And think about something that you saw online last week, something you scrolled by that you didn't like, or thought was obnoxious, or thought was annoying, or thought was cringy, whatever. Think about that. And like, I'm having a hard time genuinely remembering a situation that I saw online last week that I thought was cringe, from someone I grew up with, from someone that I follow, from someone I don't follow. Like, I don't remember, because my life takes precedence. My life gets the most of my brain, and everything else comes and goes and comes and goes. If it was this last week, it's something else next week. Truly, you may occur in someone's brain, and you may occur in someone's conversation for 5 minutes out of their entire month, and they are going to completely forget about it. So if you are spending your entire life refusing to be and become because you're afraid somebody else may have an opinion on it, and somebody else may think something about you or say something about you, you are spending your life and they are spending 5 minutes. Does that actually sound reasonable to you when it's broken down like that? Because it does not sound reasonable to me. The thing about failure is we treat it as if it's this thing that we are experiencing and nobody else is experiencing, or that we're going through and nobody else has ever gone through. And that is so untrue. We have allowed shame and fear attach itself to failure and make it seem like that's really what it is. But I think about the times that I failed in my life where I really thought, oh my God, I thought I had it. I thought this was it. And then something exponentially greater came along, and I reflect, I'm like, oh, thank God that didn't work out. Like, what would I have done? And I'm not going to go as far to say that you have to be grateful every time you fail, immediately when you fail. Sometimes it takes the next thing to come along to be better for you to be able to reflect and be thankful that you failed, or you left, or you lost, or whatever, that last thing. You know, you have to have a little bit more time to gain the perspective. But at some point, more often than not, sometimes you're not, but more often than not, you're going to look back at the thing that you no longer have, whether you failed or lost it or whatever, and be thankful that that is no longer part of your life, because what you've made of it has been incredible. And I'm not even someone who fully believes that everything happens for a reason. I've kind of gone back and forth on that. Something about everything happens for a reason seems like it takes the effort and the intentionality out of it, and it just seems to be all happenstance. I think that sometimes the way that things work out and the wonders that they go to is because of our effort, our care, and our intentionality. I don't think that bad things happen and then suddenly a good thing takes its place. I think sometimes, more often than not, a bad thing happens and then you work really fucking hard and then a better thing happens. I think that's kind of how it goes. And sure, you can say everything happens for a reason if you want, but I think that everything happens because I work really hard for a lot of things to happen. Some things are luck, some things are happenstance, but for me to have changed my life completely in the past couple of years was not luck. It wasn't happenstance. It was a lot of dedication and a lot of hard work. I don't think that I need to give some external source the validation and the praise, and really the validation and the praise belongs to me in this situation. But I don't want to keep you too long. I really just wanted to talk about that because it's what came to my mind, and I had a lot of thoughts about it, and I wanted to dive into what I wrote about it the other day. But truly, next time you're having this negative thought, especially about someone else, negative thoughts about yourself, there's a lot of work that you can do to reframe those and work through those. When you're having a negative thought about someone else, especially someone you don't really know and someone you don't intend to talk to about that negative thing, it's different. If a friend hurts you or a family member betrays you or your partner cheats on you, talk to them about that. If you're having a negative thought about it, they deserve to know and be spoken to about that. Definitely, absolutely tell them how you need to tell them. That said, if you're having a negative thought about somebody else that you have no intentions of changing or helping them through, who gives a fuck? If you see a girl wearing an outfit that you wouldn't wear and you say in your head, oh, that's wretched, who gives a fuck? If you see someone doing something that you wouldn't necessarily do and you have a negative thought, okay, have your negative thought, couple it with, and who gives a fuck? Because truly, nothing helps you realize your own ridiculousness more than calling yourself out on it, more than reminding yourself that it really isn't worth having all of these negative thoughts about other people because no one cares. And you shouldn't care. Why do you care so deeply about people that are not in your life? Or why do you care so much about things that you're not willing to have actual conversations about? Why are you letting that take up so much of your brain power when you're not even willing to have that conversation out loud outside of your own head? Because what are you doing with that information? You're just harboring that information and you're harboring that negativity and it's really corroding you. And that person that you're not even willing to have conversations with or don't even know the name of or don't care about it all really doesn't give a fuck. So maybe we shouldn't either. And when you're having these negative thoughts about yourself, I want you to ask yourself, is this a negative thought that I actually feel? Is this something that I truly believe removed from what other people may say about me? Or is this a negative thought I'm having about myself because of what other people have said? Or really what other people haven't even said to me or about me? I just am assuming they're probably thinking it about me or saying it about me, and I have no proof behind that. How many opinions, like I asked earlier, how many opinions about yourself are yours and how many opinions about yourself are other people's? If you're sorting through all of the negative opinions you're having about yourself and you realize 70% of those negative opinions belong to other people, it's time to do the work to remove yourself from those, because all they're doing is taking up valuable brain space where you could be filling it with something more empowering, something more beautiful, something more wonderful that could lead you into the life that you really want to live. And don't you think you deserve that? And if you don't think you deserve that, I'm going to be the one to tell you that you do. I truly believe that you do. So I'm going to wrap up the episode here, but I really do hope that you can take something from that and you can keep it with you and it can mean something to you in the way that it's meant something to me. And I'm so honored that we get to come here together and have these conversations and learn that really people aren't thinking about us. And if they are thinking about us, we don't really have to give a fuck. And I hope that that lesson out of every lesson that I gave in this episode is the one that sticks with you. And I'll see you next week. And I love you so much. And I'm on your side. Mwah.